And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I am your host, Kim Davis. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Tuesday, December the 8th. Wow. The year is winding down. I hope you guys are continuing to be safe, wearing your mask, practicing social distancing, and of course, washing your hands. Okay, so listen up. It may not be different for you on your end, but I'm trying out a new platform today for my weekly shows. And so if you've participated and seen the shows before, let me know what you think about just the ability to navigate it and what you see. So I'm just looking for the best quality and the easiest platform to be able to, the one that does more with less work, if that makes any sense at all. All right. So, man, has it been a busy few days in the sports world. Over the weekend, the Houston Texans lost really what I would call just a gut-wrenching heartbreaker to the Indianapolis Colts at home. And there was a picture after the game that of Deshaun Watson leaving the field, right? And you know, you really just couldn't help but feel bad about it. You know, the picture itself spoke volumes to what we saw. We're going to talk more about the Texans and what's going on with them, because it's really now about looking to the future. And we'll talk about that in the second part of the show. But I want to start with basketball, right? NBA teams are in camp. We've had some movement, obviously, around the Houston Rockets, the team that I cover. I mean, I cover the league, but the team that I cover is the Houston Rockets. And you know, the big trade, of course, was sending Russell Westbrook to. They've had some other movement in the offseason. They traded Robert Covington, but the big move was trading Russell Westbrook to the Washington Wizards for John Wall. All right, basically a swap, and then they got a pick. They got some protected draft pick in 22 or 23. I believe it's 23. The other part of that is, you know, because there have been rumblings before about Russell Westbrook not wanting to come back to Houston, not wanting to play here because of, and these are reports, you know, if you've listened to my show, you heard me say, I've not heard Russell seeing anything attributed to Russell directly saying this, but, you know, sources say that he didn't like the politics of the owner and just didn't feel comfortable here anymore. And also, there was talk about accountability, and I think that was more about on the court. So anyway, he is now he's with the Washington Wizards. He tweeted yesterday in his Wizards jersey, all smiles. He is in camp. He's practicing and ready to move ahead, right, with his new team. He sent a nice message last week thanking Houston and Houston fans for just the support let me try to find these comments. That's what I don't see. Good morning, Carolyn. Welcome. It's good to see you. Navigating this new platform. And then, of course, good morning, my sister Sylvia. Hello, love. Good to see you. And then this is what, okay, I see it. So, you know, you've heard me say, we don't really know. A little more has come out. There's been more in terms of what's going on with Russell, but now Russell's in Washington. And, you know, like I said, he sent a message saying, hey, Houston, I appreciate you and the fans for accepting me, and great city, great time, all the best. And then, of course, there's James Harden, who has not shown up to camp yet. The Houston Rockets are still looking for him. I mean, waiting for him. They're not looking for him. That's almost to imply that, you know, he is lost. You know, he's lost. He's just not showing up. You know, it's just not at work. And so that is all sorts of craziness, right? All we've seen from James Harden have been some kind of cryptic messages, if you will, on YouTube. There was a photo of him video of him last week. Let me see if I can show this to you. Like I said, we're navigating a bit of a new. Let's do this tab. Let's do this one. Let's see. So this is what we have seen of James Harden. That's him with little baby. He was, at an event, a birthday party, a celebration, with no mask and, kicking it real hard. So, yeah. Let's see here. Remove that from the stream. So we don't know. We don't know. James Harden's not in camp yet, and so these messages with like memes on on IG and Twitter, it's really, I have to tell you, it's really a little disappointing. Here is head coach Stephen Silas on yesterday talking about, of course, answering the question, about James Harden.
Yeah, as far as timetable, there is no timetable as far as I know. And it is a setback. You want your best player to be here, and there is a short window, as you've alluded to. As I said yesterday, we're working as if this is the 6th to the 23rd. So there is some time, but, it is a setback. I mean, I have to be honest and understand that this is a setback, not having one of the best players in the NBA here. But I'm working with the guys who are here, and we're working hard, and we're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Kelly, you go.
Hey, Coach, just speaking off of that, how much have you been able to do realistically with the team, given that so much of your team is not there in James Harden? But how much have you been able to do with the other guys?
Oh, we've been doing a lot. Like the practice plan hasn't changed not one bit as far as how we're going to do things on the offensive end, defensive end, how we're going to – today we worked on pick and roll defense, and that is whoever's on the floor. And the way that our offense is set up with less isolations and more ball movement, that's for everybody. So our practice plans and the way that we've been doing things haven't changed not one bit.
Adam Spollen.
Stephen, is James currently in Houston?
I don't know.
At some point, do you almost, you guys have a game in 16 days. At some point, do you almost have to operate like he's not going to be there for the 23rd?
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. I'm kind of taking it day by day, and, we operate how we operate. So I don't know.
So that was Stephen Silas, who is, you've got to ask those questions. He's got to answer them. How unfortunate the whole thing, right? He did say yesterday at one point, someone asked if he spoken to James, and he said that he had not, or did he have any kind of relationship with James? And he said he did not. The only time he's really interacted with James is when James apparently, recommended him for the job. So, whatever is going on with James, if he doesn't want to come to work, this is not the way to handle it. All right. If you guys follow me, I am all for player empowerment, but I also am for a level of, professionalism. And first of all, it is incredibly irresponsible to be traipsing around the country partying with whomever, whether it's little baby or big baby, or it doesn't matter who it is, without a mask in a club. Because at some point, you're going to be on some team and with other people. And so that's a little irresponsible, and it's disappointing. So if you decided you don't want to be in Houston, all we've heard are rumors and, supposedly it's this or that. We don't really know. And it's not that we, the media, have to know, but his team should know, right? And here's the other thing. The Houston Rockets have James Harden under contract for the next 2 years. So some people may say, pardon me, well, Kim, he could just sit out. He's made a lot of money. He has made a lot of money, and he may be in a position to say, I can forego this nearly $42 million salary this year. I just won't come play. But the way it works in the NBA is next season, the clock starts over. He still has 2 years on his contract. It's not like, well, I can just sit out and then next year I can go someplace else. No, it's not. In the NFL, it counts as a year. In the NBA, it does not. So that means you have 2 years left on your contract and also an option year. If you don't show up for work, and I don't think it's going to get to that. I can't imagine. I'm sure he's made a ton of money. I'm not his accountant or his banker. I don't know how he's done with it. And so I just don't really imagine he's going to walk away from, right at $41.2 million guaranteed. Because then what are you going to do next year? So my point is the Rockets, if they even say, okay, you don't want to be here, what we don't want is this to be, you to be this disgruntled person and for you to this huge distraction. But they have to get the best deal for him. They have invested a lot in James Harden. They've given up a lot to surround him with the players that he wanted. Okay. Remember, they went out and they got Dwight Howard several years ago. That fell apart. Dwight was out. They went out and got Chris Paul, gave up a lot. Brought Chris Paul in. They were doing State Farm commercials together. All was well. James gets an MVP. The next season, they can't play together. Chris has to go. They go out and make a deal and bring in Russell Westbrook. His boy, that's his guy, right? This dude. We grew up together. We're both from LA. We're friends. We can hoop together. We are looking forward to this. One season. And reports are that James didn't want him here. So I say reports, but there have been several reports that say that. And so what I'm saying is this is not how you operate. It's not a good example to set for young people, who are watching you as you are traipsing around the country, Anyway, I'm not going to get into what he gives to his friends. Is his business. It's his money. If you want to give a Prada bag full of honey buns and $100,000 in cash and a $200,000 watch to his guy, little baby, cool. You couldn't have shipped that to him, right? You got to be at a party without a mask on, and then you don't even show up to work, because this is work. And so when we talk about player empowerment, when you work for somebody, you should show up, right? You got a contract. You got the contract you wanted. You got a max deal, a super max deal. So your team is done with their part of it, right? This is a transactional relationship. And your part is to show up and work. At least make it easier for them to give you what you want. You want to be out? Come show up, work hard, and let them get the best deal. What you're doing is taking all the leverage away from the Rockets. If they don't have any leverage, they can't afford to just give him away because it'll make him happy. They still have a responsibility to the organization. And there's some other guys on this team. So I just think he's handling it poorly. I understand, yesterday when members of the media asked PJ, and he said, listen, I'm here to speak for PJ. I get that. It's not PJ Tucker's responsibility or place to talk for James Harden. James is a grown-up. And this is a business situation. And so he should speak for himself, Plus, how can they speak for him? They have to just come and play and do what they do. On Sunday, we talked with John Wall, who said, I've spoken to James. He's excited about us playing together, bloop, bloop, all that. But still, here we are. James hasn't shown up. You heard Stephen Silas. I may have called him Paul. I'm so used to his father, Paul. You heard Coach Silas say, I haven't talked to him. There's no timeline. And I just have to, I'm going through what I can do with who's here. So this is Coach Silas, talking about what they're doing, talking about the work. Hey, Coach, can you talk about just, I know you said a bit about it before. You're working a lot on defense, but just what you're seeing from so many new pieces together, and how you feel about the progress since any day now you guys will be starting training camp games.
Yeah, it's a process. We, like as you said, we have a group of guys who haven't necessarily been together for very long, and they're big pieces of what we do. So we've been spending a lot of time on the defensive end and trying to get guys on the same page. But the offensive part is a work in progress, because whether Christian Wood is going to roll or pop and pick and roll is something that John Wall has to feel and go through a bunch of times, and they have to create that bond and create that synergy between the two of them. So there's a lot of situations like that. That's just one, but there's a lot of situations like that where it's just going to take time for the guys to learn each other, and up to me to, we had a good film session before practice today, so they could really get a feel for what I'm looking for, and then they can communicate with each other as far as, how they can help each other play better.
Thank you. New head coach Stephen Silas walks into this. he takes a job with 2 MVP players, and now one has been traded and the other is MIA. So good morning, Maurice, all the way from Vegas. Welcome. It's good to see you. Welcome to Chalk Talk. Good morning, Kim Edwards. Oh, you're so kind. Thank you very much. We're still going to work on getting our Jinka segment in the show. You guys hear me talk about Jinka here on Chalk Talk. It is something to help with your immune system and a whole lot of other things. I was talking about Jinka with someone the other day who went to the website and said, oh, it does all of this. And I said, it probably does some things that aren't even listed. But as we are in this season of trying to stay healthy, trying to get to the other side of COVID for whenever the vaccine is approved and healthy and safe and available, it could be next June for many of us. We still have to navigate this virus. And so I just go to ilovejinka.com, check it out. And I'm going to have Kim and LJ on. We're going to talk about some of the great stories that people have been sharing about their experiences with Jinka, and some people who have talked about how it's helped them overcome and battle COVID. So, hey, good morning, Lorenzo. Yeah, James was in Atlanta with little baby, and then in Vegas. Yeah, he was doing a lot. Ah, bless his heart. Yeah, it is. It's unfortunate. You've decided that you don't want to be here anymore because it's everybody else and now it's the team. Okay. All right. He wants to leave, but there's a way you leave, right? I'm real big on doing things decent and in order. And it's not as though the Rockets have not, done a lot that he's asked for. And I'm not saying that they've done him a favor. They have compensated him at the highest level. They have gotten the players and jumped through hoops and made deals based on people and players that he wanted. They've done that. And now it's time for you to show up and come to work. So, I know that there are some reports that, Russell Westbrook didn't really want to play for Tillman Fertitta because of Tillman's relationship with the soon-to-be former president. That could be true. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know Russell Westbrook like that. But when you look at how he moved, I know that he was a part of the Black Lives Matter efforts. I know that he is putting money into creating producing a documentary about the massacre of Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. I mean, I know those things about him. I don't know that about James Harden. I know that James Harden showed up in the bubble with a Blue Lives Matter mask on. So I'm not real sure that the whole Tillman supports the president, is the Harden move. I don't know. Again, haven't spoken to him. No one's heard him say anything. He's just traveling around the country, having a ball and posting weird memes on Instagram. And I'm not going to show them to you because I think you're silly. You know, like, what does that mean? Be a grown up. So I don't know what he's doing, but I just think it is, it's not very professional, and, you know, it's unfortunate, but we'll see what happens. You know, shortly after I'm off the show today, I'm going to do another program, and then I'll jump on the Rockets call, and, you know, Coach Silas will again have to answer the question, have you talked to James? Is James here? So that's that. PJ Tucker, of course, yesterday was asked about James Harden, and he made it clear he was not talking about James. He is only talking about PJ, which I'm okay with. But he did talk about early stages.
It's different when you get new coaches, new front office, everything new. You know, nothing's the same right now. Most of the guys I play with aren't here anymore. You know, it's all new guys, a lot of young guys. When that happens, stuff changes, and you learn on the go. That's something you learn as a player, as a professional. And, you know, you go learning, you know, with your ears open and your mouth closed, and you go out and work hard and figure it out. And I think everybody's doing that here right now. So that's something they can continue to have to do on the go, on the fly, figure it out while things get sorted out. And there's some, you know, in professional sports you got to deal with.
In professional sports, it's something you got to deal with, right? It just is. You're right. I said that. So, Warren, good morning, Warren. Thank you for being here. I appreciate the love, my friend. And Lorenzo, you're right. I understand. They need to trade him, but you don't just trade him because somebody says they're ready to go. You've got to make the move that makes sense for your organization. If you're going to trade your all-star, right, you're going to have to make sure that you get something in return, because you're in a rebuilding mode, and so you've got to get that piece that makes sense. You don't just because he's mad. I mean, how does any organization survive like that? Whether you are a professional sports franchise, you know, you're a bakery. I mean, you just can't run a business like that, right? You've got to, right, you're right. He says you've got to get some value back. You've got to get value back. And he's making it very difficult for them to get the value back right now. You know, I always thought, let me tell you guys what I thought. I thought that when all this started, you know, the rumblings came up, and it's been since Stephen Silas, you know, was named head coach. So I have a couple of thoughts. I was really glad the other day to hear Coach Silas say that Russell Westbrook, he said, I wouldn't have this job if it wasn't for Russell Westbrook, because he spoke up for me and recommended me and supported me in getting this job. Now, when he was asked about James, he said that James did, you know, say good things or whatever. I've seen this before. I've seen this before with players sometimes. And so you just gonna bounce on the coach and the brother coach, like, because y'all were so good before? I mean, you know, I struggle with that. I do. I struggle with that. And in addition to the incredible lack of professionalism, because now you all have heard me say here, I give James Harden credit as being a really a great offensive talent for the most part, right? You know, there's no denying that he's got some God-given talent. He's got some ability that is just far and above what others have. There's a book that I like by John Maxwell. It's called "When Talent Is Never Enough," and I look at James Harden, and it's a reminder of that. It takes more than talent. What kind of work are you putting into it? What's your mindset? And I believe that champions have a certain mindset, that leaders have a certain mindset. I'm not sure that I've seen that in James Harden. And what I'm seeing right now is like, okay, you take 2 steps forward and you take 4 steps back, right? How you do anything is how you do everything. That's so clear to me. I look at it in my own life, but it's how you do anything is how you do everything. So how you're handling this, so now you're just going to turn it on and you're going to be a champion? I'm not so sure about that. Lorenzo says the Rockets need to trade PJ. This is the last year of PJ's contract. So, you know, I like PJ Tucker. I think he's given them, like, you know, few people are going to give you more than PJ does, you know, and I think there's something to be said for that. Hey, Miss Dolly, you are right. Harden is missing. He's out partying, you know, and I had to Google. Hey, guys, let me tell you something. I had to Google to find out the whole honey bun and the Prada bag. I'm like, what is that? What is it where you, what does that mean? Like, I don't get it. So the honey bun, because, you know, he gave him James gave little baby a Prada duffel bag with like a gift bag. It's a great gift bag itself. And inside it had honey buns. He had $100,000 in cash, because, like, who walks around with that? And then a $200,000 watch. So apparently, and you guys are probably much more hip than me, and maybe you know this, but the honey bun is like, it means $100,000. Hun bun, like bun of hundreds. Who knew? I Googled it and found that out. So if you didn't know it, if you were kind of on the not hip part like me, then yeah. So, Lorenzo said little baby likes honey buns. Yeah, he likes honey buns, and then it means $100,000 or something. So yeah, that was interesting. That was interesting. And apparently, and so little baby, I heard him say this, he got me a Prada bag because he's proud of me. Get it? Prada. Okay, I'm done with them. It's a lot, right? It's a lot, but just cannot even. So then PJ, you know, John Walls is from North Carolina. That's where PJ's from, you know, and so John Walls, they know each other from back home. So this is PJ talking about John Wall and also DeMarcus Cousins.
It's cool. I've known John since I can remember. Him and my little brother, same age, and they were good friends, so he was always around. And we both grew up in the same place, so in the Raleigh Boys and Girls Club. So it's cool to see, you know, my young guy, you know, do the things that he's been doing the last 10 years in the league, and, you know, continue to, you know, show and prove, you know, what guys where we're from are made of. So it's super cool to have him here. He's a great player.
What about having DeMarcus here?
DeMarcus Cousins is DeMarcus Cousins. You know what you're gonna get. You know, everybody always talks about all the other stuff with DeMarcus, but people forget that for a while he was one of the most dominant bigs in the league. You know, I don't know if anybody could guard him one-on-one in the post. Now he's been able to shoot the ball well and do so many things. So, you know, when you got DeMarcus Cousins, you know what you're gonna get.
When you got DeMarcus Cousins, you know what you're going to get. You know, DeMarcus says he feels great. You know, Coach Silas said that Paul Wall has looked good early. Of course, he's a little rusty. He hasn't played in 2 years. Like, this is a guy that is coming off of some injuries, including an Achilles, ruptured Achilles. So, you know, we know what he could do before. And, you know, we'll see what he has left. And then finally, here is PJ talking about the changes. Hey, PJ, excuse me. You're one of the people that's been through change throughout your career and have always been able to adjust and play and keep it moving. Can you talk about just the changes because of the personnel and the staff that you've seen so far? I know it's early, and what you think about what you've seen.
I don't know about the changes. I know about the things that are still the same. I know a lot of our offense is a lot similar to what we were running. Coaches putting in, you know, some tweaks and some different terminology and stuff, but you know, a lot of stuff is the same, honestly. Defensively, putting in a few different things, but a lot of stuff still the same. So I think for guys, which it's only a few of us that have already been here, it's a little bit easier to transition because it's not a total change. You know, a lot of stuff is a lot the same. So I think Coach is doing a good job of, you know, kind of implementing his stuff in kind of what we were doing as well. So I like it.
Can you talk about the excitement of just the new guys? Because you do have some new people. You mentioned some of them individually, but just that collective new energy. And thank you.
I think new energy is always good. You know, you get guys that, coming from different situations, getting a chance here, them looking to, kind of reignite, what they were doing and in a new place, that excitement. I think you kind of can feel it and see it in a lot of these guys that, come from different places. And even with some of the young rookie guys getting a chance, we haven't had a lot of young blood around here since I've been here. So to have a good mix of young guys in here that are mixing it up in practice and, out there working is pretty cool. So, but it's something I think everybody, like I said, with new everything with the organization, it's something everybody kind of got to get on board with.
P.J. Tucker says, you know what? It's a part of basketball, and it's something that everybody's got to get on board with. One of the things that Coach Silas did say is that he has been received really well by Eric Gordon and P.J. Tucker, and how much he just appreciates that. And he also talked about John Wall, looking really good. Boogie Cousins looking really good. Lorenzo asked his Cousins healthy. He says he feels good. He says he feels as good as he has in a long time. So, we will see. We don't know yet, but that's what he says. So I'm going to take him at his word for it. And another thing that Coach Silas talked about was John Wall being like a coach on the floor, but also being willing to be coached by Coach Silas. It is just a great combination, and he is looking forward to working with them. And so right now, from what it seems like, the players, it's a whole different dynamic. We don't get to be in the building and talk to guys in person anymore because of, we are still in the midst of COVID. So everything is done virtually. So I haven't even had a chance to meet like Boogie as a Rocket, or even Coach Silas. Everything's been done virtually, and you're doing it basically in a room with everybody else. So in terms of building relationships, it's a little challenging now. So all we know is really what we get from the guys on these Zoom calls, and a couple people that that you can have conversations with away from there. Not a whole lot when there's so many new people. But my point of saying that is it seems as though they are communicating well, they're working well. It is what it is. Like Coach Silas said early on, he said, I think I forget who asked him about, how do you proceed? He said, we just have to proceed, or if he, a given thought about James and what the process and what they should do different. And he said, I don't even know how to answer that. I think like he said, I'm being as honest as I can. Obviously it's a setback to not have one of the best players in the league in camp, right? It's a setback. And then if you go a step further, which is not him saying it, it's me saying it, it's not because the player's injured or in COVID protocol, which he's going to have to go into because he's been traced around the country with no mask on. It is because he don't want to be here, I guess. He's mad. He wants to leave, and this is how you do it. I did see yesterday there was something on Twitter where a guy posted a conversation or response from James's mother, which was a little odd, that she would have a conversation with someone on Twitter, that somebody that she didn't know, a guy named Alex Strum. And so she responded to him on Instagram. And so let me just share that, because I thought that was really, where is it? Don't show this again. Nope. So this is, let me see if I can do it this way. What's the best way to show it to you? Okay, I just wanted you to be able to see it full screen. So apparently this guy posted something on Twitter, on Instagram about James Harden. And so his mother, who also works as his agent, says this. She's raised her son to be caring and giving, and a giving young businessman that he has become. He has his own mind and can make his own decisions. I'm very, very proud of him for that. Now, as far as his job, you clearly don't understand what is really going on. That's okay. You know, if people had their own life and not try to make decisions for others, we would really be a better world. His decisions in life, because that is his life and legacy, has nothing to do with you. I can't believe she's having this conversation with a stranger on Instagram. Please pay attention and understand he has worked hard every time he suited up for his job, giving 210%. He asked for a chance to get a ring. That's it. Anyone in their right mind in this busy, maybe she means business, would want that. So if he lost you as a fan, you weren't the right fan from the start. Blessing to you, son. Yeah, that's James's mother responding to somebody on Instagram. I mean, the whole thing is bizarre, but it's 2020, right? This is way down on the list of what's crazy and bizarre and disappointing, right? There's a whole lot of other stuff that I can say, man, you know, we just talk about COVID and how it continues to devastate us, and that there's a person who lost and doesn't want to leave. I mean, it is crazy times indeed, you know. But here's what I believe, and I think I answered your question, Lorenzo, about DeMar. Is he healthy? He says he's healthy. You know, I always believe that until you're playing like live basketball, you know, games, which they're gonna be playing really soon. Like their first preseason game is Friday in Chicago. They are in Chicago on Friday for a preseason game. I'm pulling up their schedule. I was looking at it before we came on today. They play in Chicago on Friday and again on Sunday, because one of the things the NBA is doing this year is trying to put 2 games in a row, not back to back necessarily, you know, like a day to day, but you know, if you got to travel to Chicago, they want you to be there for a few days and play those 2 games in Chicago. You know, when they come home next week, they have 2 preseason games against the Spurs. They're both going to be in Houston. So they're trying to cut back on travel, you know, in light of COVID. That's one of the things they're doing. So the first preseason game is Friday. The season opens on the 22nd. The Rockets' first regular season game is December 23rd against OKC. They open that game. They'll be at home. So, yeah, guys, we, you know, to say it's uncharted territory, uncharted waters, I guess you can say that. It's not as though players haven't been disappointed in their situations before or haven't wanted to go to a new team or go someplace else. Yeah, I don't really know what else to tell you. I just think the whole thing is really kind of sad and unprofessional. But that is where we are right now. I mean, that is where we are right now. And I will tell you, this new platform is very intuitive. You know, it tells me your mic is muted. I didn't know that, so I was able to fix my mic. Let me share my screen. Let's see, stop screen share. Now let me share it again. This was a picture that after the game on Sunday, I'm switching over to football now. This is Deshaun Watson. This is a picture of him walking off the field. I posted it to my Instagram page. I mean, I think that kind of summed it up. You know, he said it hurts. You know, it was just a tough lost and the way they lost. And so if you happen to have DirecTV, like I do, of course I was at the game, so I was able to see it in person. But if you were not, that game was on CBS, and if you have DirecTV, then you didn't see it because DirecTV in this market is in a fight about money with Tegna, the company that owns Channel 11, which happens to be the CBS station in this market. So they, when you turn on Channel 11, if you have DirecTV or AT&T or one of those services, you get a screen that says basically we're in a fight about money. They don't say it that way, but that's what it is. And, we've tried to work it out and they're not reasonable. All I know is we don't get to see it. So if you're one of the ones that got to see the game, the Texans were driving. It was first and goal on the Colts 2-yard line with about a minute 30 left in the game. They at that point trailed, you know, by what, 4? And the final was 20-26. So a score there would have tied the game, and then with an extra point attempt, they could have won it. They were charging, they were forging ahead. They were right there. And on the 2-yard line, the center, Nick Martin, snapped the ball like he was throwing it to the other end of the field. It was a bad snap. And it was recovered by the Colts, and that was really the end of the ball game. I mean, that was a wrap. That was it. That was the end of the drive. They took a knee, game over. It was just, if there had been a stadium full of people, I'm sure you would have just heard the go from the crowd noise to just the air being sucked out. They weren't a stadium, they didn't have a stadium full of people because it's COVID and they're only, I say a handful of people. They may say 12,000, but I guess in a 70,000 seat stadium, it looks like a handful. At any rate, it was a tough loss. And that was Deshaun after everybody left the field. He sat on the sideline on the bench for a minute, just soaking it in. This is a kid or a young man who's been a winner everywhere. All he knows is winning. And so he puts it all on the line, right? He does. And there are others who do too. I mean, you can see some of the guys on defense and, Kiki Kuti, as we sit there, you go, man, because he was in the doghouse with Bill O'Brien, he didn't get a shot. I mean, the moves that Bill O'Brien made will handicap this team for years to come because he affected the roster in a way that it left them with not a lot of options in terms of being able to draft, in terms of salary caps. And so it's going to be interesting to see who comes in and takes over this team moving forward. Who's going to be the general manager? A lot of us have talked about Eric Bieniemy would be a great fit. Word on the street is, because I don't know Eric Bieniemy, right, that he is leaning more toward Atlanta. I think right now the most attractive thing about this Texans job is Deshaun Watson, right? Because one of the things you need to go in is most people will say, if I've got a quarterback, I can win. I can build. And so I think Deshaun Watson is obviously the best thing in terms of being able to lure, a coach here that will be good for this organization. But I'm sure that Bieniemy is saying, but who's going to be the general manager? We heard Jamie Roots come out and say that it would not be Jack Easterby, but I don't know how many people trust that, right? Because he's still here. Other teams, when they fire the coaches, like in Detroit, they fire the head coach and the general manager. Now, Jack Easterby's title is not general manager, but he is the executive vice president of operations. I mean, he and Bill O'Brien worked hand in hand, right? He was a part of all those conversations and decisions. I feel strongly about that. They worked really closely together. So you got rid of one, but you kept the other. And I think that's, probably causes some hesitation for people as they think about looking and coming to be a part of this organization. We shall see. I felt good when I heard that Deshaun Watson had dinner with Cal McNair in recent weeks to talk about the future of the team and for Cal to get his input. I hope that he I hope that wasn't something that was just superficial, that he really is listening to his input and interested. And we'll see, is all I can tell you. All I can tell you is that we will see. So it is going to be some interesting times. This weekend, the Texans travel to Chicago to take on the Bears. They're on the road for 2 weeks. Then they travel to play the Colts in Indianapolis, to play the Colts again in Indianapolis. And before coming home for their final 2 games. And they end the season. They play the Bengals on the 27th at home, and then the last game of the season is against the Titans on January the 3rd. So that is how the Texans will end the season. There will be no playoffs for this Houston Texans team, and the Houston Rockets team is just getting underway. I mean, with camp, like I said, preseason starts on Friday. The regular season starts on the 22nd. And where is James Harden, and what will you do? I guess if you can look on Instagram and either hear from him or see his mom talking with strangers on Twitter, on Instagram. Other than that, who knows? And she has really acted as his agent. I guess that's still the case. I have no idea. He's opening a restaurant in Houston, so maybe he's gonna be here to hire the people. I don't know, but he doesn't want to play here. And I wish he'd be a little more professional and a little more of an adult. I think how you do anything is how you do everything. And I'm going to end today's show with that thought. So we didn't really talk about really any current events today. We'll do that. I'm actually going to jump on again later in the week, and we're going to talk about some health things, and we're going to talk about Jinka. And I really want to talk about how we navigate this season that we're in. It's December. Depending on what part of the country you're in, I know some of you are in the East Coast where the weather's colder. Your other places, and I just want to talk about and encourage you to continue to be safe and make smart choices, and to wear your mask, and to wash your hands, and to sit down somewhere, right? Take this time to not be around people who really are not a part of your nuclear family, not in the house where you live. Limit the activity, limit the contact with people who are not in your home, because we've just seen too many people get this deadly virus, and I just want all of you to stay safe is my hope and is my prayer. For those of you who are in Georgia, I know that I have some people that are part of the Chalk Talk tribe from Georgia. Hopefully you're already registered, because voter registration ended on yesterday. But go ahead and get your early voting ballots, absentee ballots, however you're going to vote, but vote. December 5th is the actual election day, but the election season is already underway. So make sure that you vote. You showed up in November. That was awesome. You got to show up again now, because this is crucial. It is critical that the two people that are currently representing the state of Georgia in the Senate don't get to go back. I watched a debate on Sunday night. So there was to be a debate with John Ossoff and the Purdue guy, and the Purdue guy didn't show up. So there was John Ossoff, right? And then there was an empty podium. So they just asked questions of John Ossoff. And so at the end of that debate, this is how much foolishness is going on. The Purdue's team tweeted and said that they had won a debate. They had won the debate. Now, listen, y'all, that's all sorts of crazy. That is all sorts of crazy, because he didn't want to stand there, because the last time they showed up and he debated John Ossoff handed his tail to him, right? He called him out about really working for himself and not for the people of Georgia, about, the the allegations and investigations into insider trading about how he sold out the people of Georgia potentially for, to grease his own pockets and put money in his own pocket instead of really trying to manage the virus and to make sure that the people of the state that he represents, had what they needed in terms of medical facilities and money for families and small businesses, because that state, like all of the states across the union, is hurting. Meanwhile, Kelly Loeffler, the lady who also owns the WNBA, a team full of women who don't like her, because of how just because of who she is. Early on, she got she was privy to information because of her position in the Senate about the virus, and she dumped a lot. What was it, about $500 million in stock or something? A lot, right? A lot. That number could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But she did profit from this virus, as so many of them have, and has not wanted to um, help the people of Georgia in terms of, the unemployment, the $600. You don't want people to get that $600 a week, but you're okay profiting off the backs of them, of us, of everyone, because you got some information and you come out front and say, initially you were like blowing it off like it wasn't a big deal. Well, the entire evening, and I'm going to say this before I wrap up because we're almost out of time, she kept referring to Raphael Warnock as radical leftist something, Raphael Warnock. So it was as though she had a wire in her ear with somebody just reminding her to repeat those talking points over and over again. And so at one point, I thought he did a good job. At one point, I'm like, he needs to push back a little bit on some of that. But I understand it's a balancing act. He's a black man. She's a white woman. And it is still Georgia, right? It's still Georgia. So it couldn't come across as though he was being mean to this white woman, blonde, thin. All of those things go into it. She's not from Georgia. She's from Illinois, I believe. But I watched it and then I just thought, what in the world? So to the people of Georgia, and if you know some people in Georgia, make sure that you call them and get them in gear. I'm sure they are, because they've got some people on the ground there, Latasha Brown with Black Voters Matter, and of course Stacey Abrams, and a host of other people. But encourage the people to go ahead on and get that vote in, so that the Senate can be even at 50-50, which means the tie vote would go to our Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, so that the Biden-Harris administration can move forward some of the things that they've talked about in their agenda, which is some are fairly progressive. So give them the help they need, and so that some of the people who he is nominating for these positions who are considered more progressive can get confirmed, right? The Senate is where those confirmations come. So I encourage you to talk to the people in Georgia, call somebody, participate in the phone bank. I'm trying to do that to see what I can do from here in Texas. And in the meantime, stay safe, wear your mask, practice social distancing, try not to move around as much. If you don't really have to, we will get through it. And then on the other side, we can move around and see people and hug and go to parties and all that sort of stuff. But if we are not here, we can't do any of it. So practice these safeguards for not only you, but also for your neighbor. All right, guys. Love you all. See you next time. Follow me on Twitter. If you're on Periscope, then you know how to follow me on Twitter, but it's at Kim Y. Davis. I'll let you know when I'm going to jump back on later in the week. And I hope you enjoyed our new platform, at least for a week, until I decide whether I'm going to stick with it. Show will be the same time next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you.